Imagine someone is mid-sentence. They pause, and before they say the next word, you already know it. Not guessed, knew. That moment feels like intuition, like you're just good at reading people. But what's actually happening is far stranger. Your brain isn't waiting for the words. It's writing them. Right now, as you hear or read anything, your brain is running a secret draft of everything that hasn't been said yet. And the implications of that, for who you are, how you think, and why you sometimes mishear things, will change how you understand your own mind. Think of your brain like a car with headlights. The headlights don't illuminate the road behind you. They reach forward. They project light into the space you haven't entered yet. Your brain does exactly this with language. It doesn't sit back and wait for words to arrive like packages on a doorstep. It sprints ahead, projecting what it thinks is coming, and then checks whether reality matches the prediction. Scientists call this predictive processing, and it's one of the most fundamental things your brain does, not just with language, but with everything. Here's where it gets interesting. When you're listening to someone talk, your brain isn't passively receiving their words like a microphone records sound. It's actively building the sentence ahead of them. Neuroscientists have found that during speech comprehension, the brain proactively constructs sentence structures and anticipates how the sentence will unfold before the words even arrive. Your brain is essentially finishing people's sentences in the background, in real time, every single conversation you've ever had. But how? How does a 3-pound organ made of biological tissue get so good at predicting language? The answer starts with what your brain has already seen. Every sentence you've ever heard, every book you've ever read, every conversation you've had since childhood, your brain has cataloged the patterns. It knows that after the sun is, you're probably getting a color or a temperature. It knows that I need to tell you something usually comes before something significant. It's running on decades of linguistic data, constantly updating its forecast. You already use a machine version of this every day. The autocomplete on your phone. You type, "I'll be there in," and it suggests 5 minutes. It's learned your patterns. Your brain is doing the same thing, except it's been training for your entire life. It works across meaning, grammar, and sound simultaneously, and it's orders of magnitude faster. Researchers have described the brain's language system as functioning like a biological autocomplete, continuously attempting to guess the next word in both spoken and written language. Now here's something that should stop you for a moment. Scientists have actually identified specific neurons in the human brain that appear to predict the words you're about to say, before you say them. Researchers studying specialized speech neurons found they coordinate to plan and produce words, and the patterns they fire in are so structured that scientists could predict which word sounds a person intended to speak before any articulation actually happened. Your brain had already committed to the word, your mouth just hadn't caught up yet. Think about what that really means. The decision, the linguistic commitment, is made upstream from your voice. Your conscious experience of choosing a word might actually be arriving after the neural machinery has already placed its bet. This is the first hint that something stranger is going on. The voice you hear as you speaking may be narrating a process that already happened. And it's not just one part of the brain doing this. The prefrontal cortex, the region associated with planning and complex thought, doesn't just process the words you're about to say. It encodes their grammatical role in the sentence. Whether a word is the subject, the object, how it fits into the grammatical skeleton of what you're constructing. Research from New York University found that the prefrontal cortex maps out the syntax of a sentence word by word as it's being built, tracking each word's function within the whole structure. So your brain isn't just auto-completing words, it's auto-completing grammar. It's holding a structural blueprint of the sentence while simultaneously slotting in the words. That's why you can follow a complex sentence even when it takes a sharp grammatical turn halfway through. Your prefrontal cortex has been mapping the architecture of the sentence from the very first word, ready to adjust. Now, here's something that flips the whole picture. This prediction system isn't just something your brain does when it has extra time or when conversation is slow. It's running constantly, at multiple levels simultaneously. The brain is comparing incoming sensory information, the actual sounds hitting your ears, against internal predictions at the level of meaning, at the level of grammar, and at the level of individual speech sounds, all at once. This multi-layered prediction is why you can follow speech in a noisy room. Your brain isn't just hearing the sounds, it's using its predictions to fill in what it couldn't quite catch. If someone says something at a crowded party and the last word gets swallowed by noise, you still understand the sentence because your brain had already committed to a probable ending. The prediction fills the gap, and this is where we hit the midpoint twist, because all of this efficiency has a cost. Your brain's predictions are so confident, so automatic, that sometimes they override what was actually said. You've experienced this. You read a word wrong, and your brain corrected it before you noticed. You heard a lyric you were sure was one thing, and it turned out to be something completely different. That wasn't carelessness. That was your prediction engine doing exactly what it was built to do, and winning against reality. This is the twist that matters. You think you're hearing the world as it is, but what you're actually experiencing is your brain's best prediction of the world, updated by incoming data. The words you hear are not purely what was said, they're the result of a negotiation between what arrived at your ears and what your brain was already expecting. Most of the time, prediction and reality agree, but when they don't, prediction often wins. Researchers at Newcastle University found that the auditory cortex, the part of your brain that processes sound, actively anticipates upcoming words in speech. And remarkably, this predictive mechanism appears to have been conserved across different species throughout evolution. This isn't a quirk of modern language. This is ancient. The brain has been predicting incoming sensory signals for far longer than humans have had words. Language just gave that ancient system a new job. Let that land. The mechanism your brain uses to finish other people's sentences is older than language itself. It evolved to predict movement, predator behavior, environmental patterns, survival critical information. At some point, that same architecture was recruited for speech. Your brain predicts words the same way a prey animal predicts whether the shadow in the grass will move. The stakes were just higher then. So, what does all of this say about you? About the experience of being someone who thinks and speaks and listens? Here's the synthesis. Your mind is not a receiver. It's a generator. At any moment, you are running a live simulation of what you expect the world to say next. Reality is the error correction signal. Language comprehension isn't decoding. It's confirming or updating a draft that already exists. You are, in a very real sense, already living slightly ahead of the words. And this has real consequences. It's why finishing someone's sentence feels so intimate. You're showing them the draft your brain wrote. It's why miscommunication is so common. Two brains running two different predictions, sometimes only loosely anchored to the same words. It's why certain speakers can hold a room. They learn to speak in patterns that match what brains expect, and then break that pattern at exactly the right moment. The surprise lands harder because the prediction was so confident. The brain's constant prediction also means that efficient comprehension, understanding language quickly, tracking meaning under difficult conditions, following complex arguments, is built on the quality of your predictions. The better your brain is at forecasting language, the less cognitive work each sentence costs you. You're not just building vocabulary when you read widely or listen carefully, you're training your prediction engine. Every sentence you absorb is a data point that makes the next one slightly cheaper to understand. Here's what to carry with you. Your brain is a prediction machine that never stops. Right now, it has already generated a probable ending for this sentence, for this thought, for this moment. Most of those predictions are invisible to you. They become your experience only when they're wrong. The gaps, the surprises, the wait what, those are the only times the engine becomes visible. Which leaves one question sitting quietly at the back of all of this. If your brain is always running ahead, always predicting, always completing the draft before you consciously experience it, then what exactly is the you that receives the finished version? Where does the prediction end and the experience begin? That's a question neuroscience is still standing at the edge of, and it might be the most important sentence your brain has never quite finished.